spring, a man was walking in his garden when he noticed this cocoon hanging from a tree. He grew excited when he noticed that a small hole had appeared on the side, a sure sign that soon a beautiful butterfly would pop out. So the man decided to wait and watch as the soon-to-be butterfly struggled against the hard casing of the cocoon as it tried to squeeze its body out. After a while, the man decided to help, so he took a pair of scissors and cut the hole to make it bigger so the butterfly could emerge easily. He watched in anticipation, waiting for a beautiful butterfly like this to pop out and soar into the air. Instead, he was met with surprise when he noticed that a butterfly like this came out instead, with distorted wings and a tiny body that looked like it would never be able to fly. And it never would. Even though the man was trying to be kind, he did not understand that the struggle of a butterfly against the hard casing of a cocoon is a necessary mechanism for the fluid to flow into a butterfly's wings so it can be ready to fly when it comes out. By evading this necessary struggle in the butterfly's life, the man ultimately made the butterfly weak. Many people believe obstacles such as this to make them weak. However, as we see with the story of the butterfly, roadblocks are necessary in our path to becoming strong. In my ISM journey through my junior and senior years, I have become no stranger to such obstacles. But I learned that I have a choice. I can try to bypass my problems by taking the shortcut, procrastinating or giving up, or I can run headfirst into them, knowing that ultimately I will be benefiting myself. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for attending the Independent Study and Mentorship Final Presentation Night. I would like to extend a special thank you to my AP Chemistry teacher who has agreed to grade my presentation in absence of my mentor today. So some of you know that this is my second year in the ISM program, and ISM has helped me grow in many ways, from learning from my mistakes to developing professional speaking skills and learning how to conduct myself as a professional. So today I hope to walk you through my ISM experience, my original work, and my growth through the program. The ISM class has given me tremendous opportunities that I wouldn't have had otherwise, so I'd love to share my progress academically and professionally with you all today. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with the ISM program, it is not a traditional class, nor does it have the traditional class setting. So the aim of the ISM program is to allow students to choose one topic that they want to pursue in the future and then study it throughout the whole year. Along with this, students are required to obtain a mentor in their given field and also conduct some sort of research or original work throughout the year to demonstrate their learning. The unorthodox nature of the ISM program is shown in many ways, even the way that most classes we start off with either a motivational video or a team building activity or even a walk if the weather permits. Now at the start of the year, these activities seemed a little cheesy to me, but as the year grew on, I found myself growing dependent on these motivational TED Talks to de-stress a little or the team building activities to grow a little more closer to my classmates. ISM program also helps us grow and prepare for the future, such as college and skills that we need in the workforce. So we learn how to make effective resumes, how to conduct yourself in interviews, how to conduct business meetings, and just a lot of skills along that range. So now that you have a basic understanding of the ISM program, I'll move on to my experience. So I applied for ISM at the end of my sophomore year, and I essentially had no idea what I wanted to do. I just knew that I liked my math and science classes, so I wanted to do something in the STEM field, whether that be medical or engineering. So I decided that I wanted to pursue the broad topic of bioengineering, which encompasses both, and then strategically choose one of the topics to focus for my second year in ISM. So with my interest in bioengineering, I obtained a mentor from UT Southwestern named Dr. Anant Puthuranthagam, who allowed me to shadow him and conduct research on glioblastoma patients with him. I ultimately tried to find if having a methylated MGMT promoter region has any effect on chemotherapy response for these glioblastoma patients. And it sounds kind of difficult, and it definitely was, but it did teach me a lot, and it taught me two main things. One is that I have an affinity for conducting research, and and also that I had interest in learning about cancer, so it might be something I want to focus on for the future. With this, I decided to change my ISM topic from bioengineering to oncology for this year. Now, for my ISM 2 year, I knew things would be different than ISM 1. For one, when I was a first-year ISM student, I used to look up to the second-year ISM students as role models and learn from their presentations and also ask them for advice. So I knew that ISM 1 students this year might have the same expectations for me. With this, I knew I had to work even harder and be even more motivated than last year. Also, the jump from the engineering field to the medical field is a big one, and I suddenly had to consider a lot more factors such as medical school applications and BA MD programs. So with these in mind, I started my first semester in ISM. So this first semester in ISM is comprised of three main things. First is conducting research on your topic. So I conducted research on medical related topics, and then doing interviews with professionals in your field. And finally, the ISM Business Symposium, which is a networking event where all the ISM students in the district come together and learn how to network with each other, practice interviews, and showcase their resumes. So a big part of ISM is obviously the mentorship component. And the way that we do this is by conducting a lot of interviews for the first semester, and then during the second semester, choosing one of those professionals to ask to be our mentor. So the way we do interviews is kind of difficult. We do cold calling, which is basically we find phone numbers of professionals on the internet, and then we just call them without them knowing and ask them for an interview. And it's very nerve-wracking, especially for me, as someone, I get nervous talking to even people I'm familiar with sometimes. So the idea of calling someone that knows nothing about me and asking for an interview was really scary. And it showed during my first year of ISM. Like my first phone call, I sounded so nervous that the receptionist actually gave me advice and tried to calm me down before transferring me over to the professional. But this year, with my experience from last year, I have grown more confident in doing interviews, and I decided that I wanted to do a lot more interviews this year than last year, because oncology is a very subdivided field. They have many sections such as radiation oncology, medical oncology, or surgical oncology. And I didn't know where I would fit in, so I decided to have interviews with professionals in all areas to know where I would most be fitting in. So with that, I conducted about 15 interviews this year during first semester until I ultimately met Dr. Anil Hoguraju, who I asked to be my mentor. So Dr. Anil Hoguraju is a medical oncologist at the Texas Oncology Flower Mound location, and he graduated from medical school, Osmania from Hyderabad, India, and he is board certified in internal medicine. Now, when I talked to Dr. Hoguraju, I knew that I wanted him to be my mentor because he gave me a lot of really meaningful advice about how to, about college applications and also medical school applications. And also, I really appreciated his honest acknowledgement of the difficulties associated with the medical field. So he also has a lot of passion for his job. So when I asked him to be my mentor and he said yes, I was very excited to go on to the mentorship process of the ISM program. So with Dr. Hoguraju agreeing to be a mentor, I started the second semester of my ISM. So the second semester of ISM is comprised of three main things. We conduct mentor visits, and then we work on our original work, and finally we have the ISM Winter Showcase, which is a mid-year event in which all the ISM students in the district come together and showcase their research throughout the year. So ISM Winter Showcase is actually really helpful because it allowed me to network with other ISM oncology students and also even meet with some medical professionals and network with them. So after this was done, I moved right into working on preparing for my mentorship. So I did this by researching more on oncology topics. So first semester I did research, but it was more on broad medical topics because I was unfamiliar with the medical field. But with second semester, I tried to find different types of treatment for cancer patients and assess like the values and impacts of each one. So the peak of my research process was when I attended the Sam Ryan's genetic conference with other AP biology students in my district. And I found that it was really interesting because he was talking all about cancer and immunotherapy, which is a treatment type for cancer. So I found myself interested in that, and I continued researching after. So after that, I was able to begin my actual mentorship with Dr. Fuguraju. So for my mentorship, I go to the Texas Oncology Flower Mound Hospital every week to work with Dr. Fuguraju. At first, I briefly shadowed him, but as March came around, we moved right into working on my original work. So again, those of you that are unfamiliar with ISM, each ISM student is required to do some sort of original work throughout the year, which either helps the community in some way or demonstrates their learning throughout the year. So I had many ideas of what I wanted to do for my original work, but some included like making a website to update oncology news, or even trying to plot out different locations of chemical spills based on diagnosis data. But talking to my mentor allowed me to see that some ideas were not really feasible in a 2-month period, and others seemed too simple. So with this, we decided to talk with the research coordinator, Miss Whitney Anderson, at the Texas Oncology location, and she advised me to do a mock clinical trial in which I assessed the side effects associated with immunotherapeutic drugs Opdivo and Keytruda. So you might be wondering, what exactly are immunotherapeutic drugs? And to understand that, you have to first understand immunotherapy, which is a rising treatment type for cancer patients, which involves inducing a patient's own body to fight cancer. So normally a body's immune system is able to recognize bacteria and viruses and then induce an immune response to destroy them. However, tumor cells are in your body and they have many mechanisms of avoiding recognition. So your body needs help from immunotherapeutic drugs to effectively fight off cancer. Now, tumor immunology has many complex biology topics associated with it, and I understand some people might not be completely used to it, so I'll try to explain as simply as I can. So basically, your body has a cell type called T cells, which try to recognize foreign cells by recepting antigens that foreign cells emit. If a T cell recepts an antigen that it does not recognize, it then induces the body's immune system to go and destroy the cell emitting the antigen. However, tumor cells have many ways to confuse your immune system and stop them from recognizing. The main one that I've been studying with my original work involves checkpoint inhibiting molecules known as PD-1 and PD-L1. So, PD-1 is found on T cells and T cell surfaces, while PD-L1 is found on tumor cell surfaces. So basically, when PD-1 on the T cell interacts with the PD-L1 on the tumor cell, it basically turns the T cell off, which helps your tumor continue growing. However, I've been working with these two drugs known as Opdivo, which is nivolumab, and Keytruda, which is pembrolizumab. And what they do is they emit antibodies, like as you see in the green, and they try to block the interaction between the PD-1 and the PD-L1 to ultimately keep your T cell on and keep inducing an immune response to keep the cancer from stop the cancer from growing. Now, immunotherapy is great because it is a lot more natural than chemotherapy or radiation therapy, but it does come with a lot of side effects, known as immune-related adverse events, or IRAEs for short. And IRAEs can be as common as fatigue, or they can be as severe as pneumonitis. So most IRAEs can be treated with either corticosteroid drugs or even just discontinuing the drug, but they are common, so I wanted to research them more with my original work. Now, Opdivo and Keytruda are fairly new drugs. They only were developed about 2 to 3 years ago, so there's not a lot of research that's being done about them, not as much. So I decided to help with my original work. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to look into the patients of my mentor's office that underwent chemotherapy and assess which patients got what side effects and what percentages of patients got side effects. So with this background knowledge, I was able to move on to my actual original work. So my original work was, the most important part of any research project is obviously gathering data, but my original work was not really as much an experiment.